You ever get a letter so ridiculous you almost choke on your coffee laughing right up until you realize, oh no, these folks actually mean it? That was me that morning. The Cedar Crest Hills HOA tried to tell me with a straight face to move my entire house 10 feet back because apparently my porch offended their architectural harmony. Not the fence, not the hedges, not a garden gnome. The house. 10 feet. And just like that, I knew I was in for one of those neighborly nightmares you read about online but never imagined landing at your front door, except there. It was in a lavender-scented envelope with their logo stamped up top, like a presidential seal for suburban drama. Now let me back up a sec. Name's Ray Malone. I'm 44 dad to 2 stubborn kids, proud owner of the last real ranch house in a sea of fake stucco palaces, and thanks to my grandfather's stubbornness, the only chunk of land in these foothills not swallowed by the HOA's all-seeing eye. My place isn't just a house. It's 5 acres of family history foundation poured by hand in the 70s cedar porch where my wife and I used to drink coffee before city life burned us out, and I came home for good. I never signed any HOA papers, and when Cedar Crest Hills started sprouting up with their matching mailboxes and regulation mailbox font, I made damn sure every deed had exempt highlighted in neon. But that letter, man, that was a new kind of bold. Realignment of residential structure, they called it, complete with an aerial photo, my house circled in red like I'd committed a felony just by existing. At first I thought it had to be a mistake. Some intern got zoning lines mixed up. So like any sensible person, I walked down to their little model home office, fake fruit on the counter, waterfall, humming, everything smelling like expensive shampoo, and came face to face with Karen Murray herself, HOA president and suburban Napoleon. I swear the woman's lips were so tight they could have cut glass. She didn't mince words. My house was out of visual alignment with the Grand Corridor, whatever that means, and affected property values. Never mind, my place was here decades before her subdivision. She looked at me like I was some wild animal loose at a garden party. I told her as plain as I could, this house isn't moving and I don't answer to your board. She hit me with the coldest, "You'd be surprised what we can do, Mr. Malone." Yeah, that happened. That's when I realized I wasn't just dealing with neighborly pettiness. This was a regime, and my grandfather's porch was their Normandy. A couple mornings later, I find 2 strangers with survey rods poking around my yard. Not a word to me. I step outside, coffee in hand. "Can I help you?" They mumble about routine boundary assessment, flashing a fake-looking badge, and some nonsense about the community development department. You know what I mean. Not even creative. I send them packing, threaten the sheriff if they don't, and by sundown, some guy in a white SUV badge printed at Staples tries to review my foundation compliance. He stutters out that Karen's oversight board sent him. I laugh him off the property, but from that point on, paranoia turns into protocol cameras on the porch, motion lights, the works. Then come the petty tactics. Orange spray paint lines zigzag across my gravel like I'm prepping for an alien landing. Packages stop arriving at the porch. The garbage truck forgets me. Contractors I've worked with for years call and sheepishly admit the HOA's been warning them not to touch my non-compliant property. I'm getting iced out and my kids don't even notice. The world just gets a little weirder around their breakfast table. But when I get a certified letter stapled to my gate full of fake legalese about zoning compliance and some made-up county statute that's the last straw, I stop playing defense. I call in my old buddy Jeff, retired cadastral surveyor, the kind of guy who can spot a fake boundary line from a moving train. We dive into the paperwork, blueprints, and every scrap of legal history my granddad left behind. Wouldn't you know it, Jeff finds a 40-year-old court ruling saying our property is in legal terms, the HOA's problem child completely exempt, protected by a family trust, and untouchable by their rules. And then the twist turns out Karen's been bluffing all along. She hires unlicensed surveyors off Craigslist, gets her husband's cousin to impersonate an inspector, pays folks cash out of some slush fund labeled Alignment Initiative, and tries to strong-arm every outlier homeowner into falling in line. One anonymous contractor finally tips us off. He was paid under the table to start prep for a demolition. Doug, my contractor friend, gets blacklisted just for being on my land. This wasn't about property values. It was about power, intimidation, and ego. We file a countersuit. My attorney, Nancy, sharp as a tack, sends the HOA a cease and desist and dumps every ounce of evidence we've got on the county judge's desk. And right when you think things can't get crazier, I wake up at 2:45 a.m. to the sound of a backhoe rumbling across my property. No joke, a full-on bulldozer brigade, headlights off, moving in like it's a military operation. I grab my camera, march out in the dark, and catch the site lead trying to claim he's got a mandate to start moving my house at 2 in the morning without a permit on private land. I call the sheriff. By sunrise, half the county's watching as police haul off the equipment and cite the crew for trespassing, every minute caught on video. And the kicker, the payment for the whole stunt is traced right back to the HOA's operations fund. Karen's name on the invoice. Suddenly, it's not just a zoning dispute. It's criminal trespass, misuse of funds, and conspiracy. Maybe the only time a backhoe's gotten someone charged with a felony in these parts. The story goes viral. Reporters line up at my gate, and it turns out I'm not alone. The Sheffields down the road, the Newans, Paula Griggs, they'd all been targeted by the same petty playbook. Overgrown hedges, garden structures, scent pollution from rose bushes. All excuses for Karen's little fiefdom to keep people afraid and compliant. And once the subpoenas start flying, a former board member blows the whistle. Fake companies, phantom contractors, a secret plan to bring every outlier house to heel. In court, Nancy lays it all out, every forged inspection, every fake invoice, every late-night intimidation stunt. Judge Parrish, sharp as a nail, sees right through the HOA's visual jurisdiction nonsense. She grants an injunction, bars Karen and her cronies from coming within 50 yards of my land, and refers their conduct for criminal prosecution. And that's not all. The DA opens a racketeering investigation, hits Karen with charges ranging from fraud to trespass to attempted property destruction. They arrest her, cuff her on the sidewalk in broad daylight, and the board dissolves itself within a day. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Not quite. I win a massive judgment over $600,000 in damages, and the state bars Karen and her crew from ever holding office in an HOA again. My land finally and forever marked independent. Cedar Crest Hills fades into history, the gate signs come down, and I hang up my own built by my grandfather, left alone by the rest. Don't even think about touching it. These days, I run a little workshop for architecture students on Saturdays, teaching them how boundaries matter, how history can outlast a mob, and how a house is more than a structure. Every once in a while, folks still ask if I regret not selling out. I tell them, not a chance. Some things you fight for, not because they're easy, but because if you don't, somebody else will try to steal them away, one letter at a time. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back? Or should I have given in? You ever dealt with an HOA like this? Let's hear your stories in the comments. Because if this saga proves anything, it's that community only works when folks actually respect each other's lines, literal and otherwise.